What's good, everyone, and welcome back to another reaction video. Today we are reacting to embarrassing dumb ways people died. Honestly, this series is keep on going and going to proving the point that there are dumber ways to die than we believe, and that people have more than one way to off themselves from the human race. Yeah, that's that's something to really think about when being said. Okay. So, let's see what kind of dumb stuff we're gonna see today. So, I hope you enjoyed this reaction video, though. Hit the like button if you do enjoy it. Hit the subscribe button to support the channel, support the content provided, and so on and so forth. Hit the notification button to be notified immediately when new videos come out, such as these that you want to see, like more ways people died. And honestly, I feel like I should probably not say that word, but I guess it doesn't matter at this point. I already said it and all that. But yeah, Libby said that if just be sure to hit the notification button to be notified when new videos come out. You know what? Just that. And if you have any videos you would like to recommend that I should react to, put it down in the comment section below and I'll react to it as soon as possible. Also, the link to this video will be down in the description below, so be sure to check out that to see the original video. And be sure to give BMA some love and support for the video they made. And with this all said, let's start this video, shall we?
Oh, you didn't think part 17 was the end of this series, did you? Ha! Nope, not by a long shot. Because here we are at part 18, and trust me, I have plenty more stories of idiots who remove themselves from the gene pool in the dumbest ways possible. From using a book to stop a bullet for YouTube clout, to the world's dumbest terror offense fails, it's time to get
Wait,
the
what?
podiums ready, as I hand even more Darwin Award winners their well-earned trophies.
I'm sorry, excuse me?
More than one way to skin a bear.
Huh?
Back in the 1900s, bear hunting in the USA was an incredibly important job. Skilled hunters eliminated the dangerous creatures from their original ranges, making it safe for the humans that resided there while making use of their fur and meat. However, in 1906, one young hunter in Elk County, Pennsylvania, apparently forgot the first rule of hunting dangerous predators. While he was hunting, he came across the carcass of a huge black bear in the woods. Assuming it had perhaps died from natural causes, our man thought it was his lucky day and began skinning the animal, without actually checking if it was really dead first. Yeah, as you might have guessed, the bear wasn't dead, it was just sleeping. And so when our guy started to skin it, it immediately woke up in a rage and tore the hunter to shreds. Now, I've checked as many newspaper reports from the time as possible, and details about this are scarce, so I'm not completely sure if it really went down like this. However, this was in Pennsylvania, so those are some pretty high odds.
I mean, I guess. But if that is true, I'm kind of curious why he thought the bear was dead and decided not to check. Honestly, that feels like the first thing to do. Either that or back away and observe for a while.
Always ride inside the truck.
What?
There are a lot of things that can kill you in Australia, and it turns out the most deadly of them all is the Aussie Idiot. Back in the year
Huh?
2000 at the Spring Nationals car meeting in Shepperton, Victoria, a young man saw a
Okay.
truck rolling down the street at some 5 miles per hour and got a bright idea. He decided to run and catch hold of the spare tire at the back of the tractor unit, sliding alongside the truck on a piece of cardboard. I'm
What
sure this
the?
looked pretty amusing to everyone, except the truck driver who didn't know he was there. As such, he changed gears, which sent a jolt through the truck, and our award winner here suddenly lost his grip and quickly became a human
Oh.
speedball.
Oh.
Who could have seen that coming?
Oh.
Yeah, literally everyone watching. Tired of it. Now,
That's well, I was not prepared to see roadkill today, but I guess gotta be prepared for that kind of thing. Not much is really say it, in all honesty. It's Interesting fact, I'll admit. Though I'm curious why that guy thought it would be okay just to do what he did. Honestly, that sounds like the most idiotic thing to do when it comes to a truck being there. And the saying, hey, you know what would be really cool? I'm gonna jump on this truck and ride. Quickest way to die, I say.
Now, tire technicians don't have it easy. It's their job to repair, replace, and maintain the tires on all types of vehicles, which is pretty laborious when you think about it. However, trying to shortcut the
Eh.
process doesn't lead to faster results, it leads to Darwin Awards, as this next guy found out. Back in 2000 in Montezuma, Georgia, our tire technician had been working at a wholesale tire company with his brother for over 7 years when a customer came in one day complaining that he kept having to reinflate one of his tires. Our man saw the wheel in question had a crack in the rim, so he and his brother got to work removing the tire, welding the crack, then remounting the tire to the rim, inflated it, and placed it back on the truck. However, water bubbles on the rim indicated there was still a leak. By this point, our man was clearly tired, so instead of going through the whole process again, he took the welding torch straight to the rim with the tires
Wait,
still
what?
on it. Now, here's a science question. What happens when you apply a huge amount of heat to a pocket of air? It expands. So, what do you think happened when our man went back in with the torch? The air inside the tire expanded until it exploded. Both men were blown backwards, but only the brother survived. Well, it was a shortcut, all right. One that led straight to the Darwin Award podiums. It's the merch drop you've all.
Uh, I'm gonna be honest. Why would they think that would be the most reasonable thing to do? Because what the heck? That's like that's like saying you're okay with the risk of dying, which is very high. Like, what the heck is up with them? Also, if you want to see this, check out the original video. I'm not gonna take someone's advertising and all that. That's their thing. If you want to see their advertising, check out the original video. Again, it's in the description below. But what the heck's
Which
up with
should
those
serve as a
people?
reminder to. Looking radiant. Now, when it became
Oh
clear back in
no.
the 1940s that radioactive elements could be used to make weapons, every country on Earth wanted to get their hands on the research. The US, in turn, had a huge problem with Soviet atom spies stealing their top secret information. The only problem was that they didn't steal all the information. So a lot of the stolen research was incomplete, leaving the Soviets with only a vague idea of how dangerous it really was. It was this that led to the events that happened at a plutonium extraction facility in the Urals back in 1968. Staff here were experimenting with a brand new plutonium purification technique when one of the shift supervisors noticed a solvent gunk was accumulating in one of the tanks they were purifying highly radioactive liquid plutonium in. The shift supervisor then ordered one of the operators to clean the tank, which is where everything went to hell. It's important to note here that you can't just pour plutonium into any vessel. There are strict shapes it can be stored in, otherwise, it can go critical. Says a lot that I know this, but the Soviets didn't. And because they didn't really know what they were doing, they poured the plutonium into a random vessel which
No.
wasn't a safe shape. All of a sudden, a bright flash and a wave of heat hit the operator. They
No.
triggered a chain reaction and a burst of deadly radiation. The operator dropped the vessel and ran out of the room, which is when the shift supervisor made the single craziest choice in human history. Instead of, saving himself, he tried to cover up the accident by pouring the rest of the solution down the drain. Fun facts, drains also aren't safe shapes for liquid plutonium.
Oh
So, can
no.
you guess what happened next? Bam! Another,
Vapors.
even bigger, fatal burst of radiation hit the shift supervisor. He didn't survive. The operator, on the other hand, did, but thanks to that first immense burst of radiation, he suffered from acute radiation sickness and had both of his legs removed. Don't worry, pal. These two Darwin Awards should replace those.
Oh. Okay. That's. Dear Lord. Why?
Welcome to Glasgow. Terrorism isn't exactly a hard crime to commit. I mean, terror offenses happen worldwide every day. The main problem is the people committing
Eh,
these offenses
true.
aren't the brightest bulbs in the box, as proven
Also
by
true.
what happened at Glasgow Airport back in 2007. It was here that two men determined to bring terror to Scotland decided the best way to do this would be to fill a car with as many propane tanks as possible, then drive the car through the front doors of the airport and into a wall, where the impact would set off the canisters into one giant fireball of chaos and destruction. Seemed simple enough. What could possibly go wrong? Well, it turned
Everything.
out neither man had actually scoped out their target before driving headlong at the airport doors because the airport was surrounded by security bollards, specifically designed to stop things like, a car laden with explosives from driving into the building. Nevertheless, they persevered, hitting the bollards at speed and successfully triggering the propane tanks to explode 30 feet from the actual airport. But that's not where it ended. Both men, while badly injured, managed to escape from the burning vehicle, apparently forgetting they were in Glasgow. As onlookers figured out what had just happened, they fearlessly
Oh my gosh. Things that happen, I swear. Honestly, they really should have thought that through. But then again, they were gonna explode some people, so honestly, thinking this over, well deserved. Well deserved.
began attacking the would-be attackers, with a Glaswegian man famously kicking one of the offenders so hard in the balls he
Ooh!
pulled a tendon in his own foot. At the end of the day, only one fatality came from the incident, and it was one of the offenders. I'm surprised the other didn't die of embarrassment. Time bomb.
Oh!
If you're still not convinced that people who purposefully commit terror offenses are complete morons, then I have another story that will
Oh
definitely
no.
change your mind. Back in 1991, over in Makati in the metropolitan area of Manila, the capital of the Philippines, the Thomas Jefferson Cultural Center became the target of two agents of terror. Their plan was to plant an explosive device outside the building at night, set a timer to delay the explosion so that they had time to get away, and then watch the resulting destruction from a distance. Seemed
That
like
sounds
a simple
idiotic.
enough plan, but because it was so dark, their only source of light came from a small lighter one of them was carrying. So in the dark, they fumbled with the digital timer, set it to 1 minute, and hit the button. Now, usually a 1 minute countdown would go 59, 58, 57, and so on, but the timer suddenly shot up to 60 minutes. Huh? Then 80 minutes? Then low? What did low mean? Then all the way up to 90 minutes. What the
Huh?
hell was going on? Well, in the darkness, these idiots had accidentally set the device's timer backwards instead of forwards. So instead of 1 minute to get away, they'd given themselves a grand total of 10 seconds. Once they'd realized their mistake, they desperately tried to defuse the bomb, but their time was up. A huge explosion ripped through the city, but there was only one fatality. Yep, one of the idiots. Man, if that wasn't so funny, it'd almost be tragic. Squeaky clean.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe this. Are you serious about this? Oh my gosh. That that's making me want to cringe. That's actually making me want to cringe at the idiocy that these two just did right there. That is just so dumb that it just makes me want to bash my head. That's how dumb it was.
Back in 2004, over in Taiwan, the country was in the grips of a SARS, or Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome, epidemic,
Hmm.
which is when one woman was found by her family in the bathtub, deceased. But they were confused. Her head was above the water, so she hadn't drowned. She didn't have SARS, and there was no sign of injury. What had happened? That was when they smelled the bathwater. Yeah, smelled. Because as tests later showed, it was made up of 40.5% ethanol, a type of very strong
Ethanol?
alcohol. Now, most people think you can only get drunk if you drink alcohol, but nope. While it can work as a powerful antiseptic, it can also be absorbed through the skin. So, as this woman took the single dumbest bath in history in an attempt to apparently cleanse her very soul of the possibility of SARS, she was actually poisoning herself. Her final blood alcohol concentration was 1,350
Oh
milligrams
my.
per 100 milliliters. For perspective, 400 milligrams per 100 milliliters is considered a fatal amount. Well, at least the world's also been cleansed of that stupidity.
I Why would someone just like do that if they know what's gonna happen? Why?
Man versus
Just
chicken. A lot of things are illegal for a good reason, usually because they're dangerous. Like cockfighting, for
eh.
example, which sees metal spurs strapped to the legs of two fighting cockerels or
What
roosters
the
before
heck?
placing them in a pit to fight to the death. Giving any animal a sharp blade is an incredibly dumb idea, which is part of why cockfighting is illegal in all 50 states in the U.S. Something our next award winner should have figured out much earlier than he did. Back in 2011, he was attending a cockfighting event in Tulare County, California, when one of the birds escaped from the pen and, flapping wildly, stabbed him in the calf. The blade nicked a major blood vessel, and after delaying
Ooh.
seeking medical attention, seeing as he'd inevitably have to explain how he was stabbed by a cockerel, he passed on. Well, he may not have won his bet, but he has won this Darwin Award.
Okay. That should be a good enough reason why not to go to those types of events. If you do, just leave the second you even get close to the door, because there is no telling if you will survive or not.
Booked boyfriend.
What the
Going viral on YouTube is not easy, trust me. It's gotten so
bear?
hard, in fact, that some people resort to making deliberately shocking or risky content just to get a reaction from the YouTube community. The only
What
problem is
the?
that more often than not, it's idiots that attempt these shocking stunts, like one couple who ran a family vlog channel back in 2017. Their cutesy, wholesome family videos weren't getting them the views they wanted, so they changed it up a notch and started filming prank videos. They saw an increase in viewer numbers and so figured that to get more viewers, they needed to make their videos more extreme. How extreme? Well, they decided to get guns involved. A
What?
Desert Eagle handgun, to be precise. One of the most powerful handguns in the world. And what did
Why?
they decide to do with the handgun? Test out how bulletproof a 1.5-inch hardback encyclopedia was. By having the boyfriend hold it in front of his chest and having the girlfriend fire at it from 1 foot away. Wow, they filmed the whole thing with an audience of people watching. Can you guess what happened? Consequences. Consequences happened. The bullet went straight through the book and into the guy's chest. The woman quickly called the police and claimed she'd accidentally shot her boyfriend. Amazingly, the stunt did go viral, as in, the idiotic attempt made headlines worldwide. Not exactly the kind of fame they were gunning for.
Why? Of all things, why? I know testing durability is a thing on YouTube, but you never have someone behind the attack. That is literally asking someone to kill you. I am questioning the sanity of these people. Why would they ever think that's something? Never make risky YouTube commentary like that unless you don't have someone behind that book, then you're okay. But if you do, just stop. Don't even bother. Heck, you shouldn't even be doing that to begin with. Guns are no joke. How they managed to get this by miraculous by itself.
Losing your head. Back in 2008 at Six Flags Over Georgia, our next Darwin Award winner was riding the Batman roller coaster when his hat apparently flew off. He
What?
was clearly very attached to that hat because as he left the ride, onlookers claim he saw it on the roller coaster's tracks and made a beeline for it. Did he stop when he scaled up the first 6-foot fence and saw a sign reading, "Do not enter"? Obviously not. Did he stop when he hopped the second 6-foot fence and saw a sign reading, "Danger"? Also, obviously not. Do you know when he stopped? When he was reaching for his hat on the tracks and was suddenly hit by one of the roller coaster carts traveling at some 50 miles per hour. Gee golly, Batman, it's almost like all those signs and 6-foot fences were there for a reason.
I think we already covered this one before, in all honesty, but still, actually, it might be something similar. But even so, just no, no, just no.
He is sunken.
Huh?
Every year, it seems that at least one person comes forward claiming they're the reincarnated Son of God, Jesus Christ. To prove it, they'll sometimes attempt one of the impossible miracles that Jesus himself was fabled to have achieved. Do they try something useful like feeding the 5,000 or turning water into wine? Nope, it's often just walking on water. which tends to go wrong, as one pastor in Gabon apparently discovered. Back in
Are you
2006, this
serious?
evangelist pastor apparently told his congregation of followers that he could repeat the biblical miracle and would prove it in front of all of them by walking across the Como estuary. So, as everyone stood around with bated breath, the pastor stepped out into the water. Several minutes later, though, he was under the water and flailing. Because not only could he not walk on water, he also couldn't swim. Now, this struck me
You have
as
to be kidding
beyond
me.
stupid, so I did a little digging. The story is featured in multiple tabloids and websites, but didn't mention the name of the church the pastor was from, nor the location of the church, which leads me to believe this is probably a hoax. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Starving for attention. While some people have claimed to be Jesus, others have historically claimed they can be fully sustained body and soul by the love of God. Not sure the love of
I
God hits the spot quite
uh
like a burger, but
what? I mean, yeah, I guess go ahead with your belief and all that. I mean, I'm Catholic myself. I believe in God, but I no, no. Just why would you? We have a human body for a reason. Even if you don't want to believe in the science behind it all, we still need to eat something to live. I can't just believe half the stuff I hear these days. It's so
one case from
ridiculous.
1867 claimed otherwise. This is when a young girl from Wales called Sarah Jacobs stopped eating. Her parents claimed that after she lost her appetite, they did not force her to eat, and somehow for 2 years she survived without a morsel of food or
Holy
a drop
cow.
of water crossing her lips. Which, to be clear, is impossible. Whether Sarah was simply lying or sneaking food and drink when everyone was asleep, no one can survive that long without physical sustenance. However, Sarah attributed this miracle to her strong faith, claiming God was sustaining her. But it was so unbelievable, a local vicar wrote to the Welshman paper in 1869 and called for doctors to investigate the case. Eventually, 7 doctors and 4 nurses were called to watch Sarah day and night to examine how such a feat was possible. So at this point, Sarah was trapped, where before she might have been able to sneak food while her parents weren't looking, she was suddenly being watched all the time. Now, the doctors and nurses never denied her food and made sure it was always accessible if she wanted it, but they didn't force her. They even worriedly informed her parents on the 6th day of this observation that if she didn't eat something soon, she'd pass on. So Sarah had 2 options: fess up that she'd been secretly sneaking food and water, or starve to death. Can you guess which one she chose? Yep. 7 days after the watches began, Sarah purposefully starved herself to death to prove a point, which she ironically failed to prove by dying. Incredible scenes. Marmot more.
I hate that there's people like that out there. Were, are, did, still is. I hate the fact that there is. It's an annoying concept that's just so demeaning. And they either do this not out of belief of God, but they just do it because it just makes them look good, look famous, look popular, and what what this and what that. Ugh.
Morons. Why do we cook meat? Well, aside from improving the flavor and texture, cooking food kills harmful microbes and parasites, making it safe to eat. This is
True.
something the Mongolian government knows all too well, as some marmots in the region carry Yersinia pestis, which is a plague germ. As such, they've issued a pretty rational health warning. Don't eat the marmots, or you might die. Sounds easy enough to understand. The only problem is, not all people think their beliefs are affected by science, as one Mongolian couple discovered.
No.
Folk remedy in Mongolia makes people believe
No.
that eating marmot innards is good for your health, kind of like the apple a day keeps the doctor away myth, except in Mongolia it's raw marmot kidneys. Blech. As such, back in 2019, this couple decided to eat up a raw marmot kidney in the name of good health. Ironically, it was this uncooked kidney that was carrying the bubonic plague germ, which they then both quickly contracted and died from. Guess they should have stuck to apples. Escalator to heaven.
I'm getting sick and tired of the fact that these people think that eating something or using a perverted belief is it's just gonna make them feel almighty and all that. Honestly, it's getting annoying.
Now, at the end of these videos, I'll usually ask if you have any stories of your own, and man, did a few of you deliver in part 17. So, Nayara Juma,
Okay.
step on up to the plate. This story comes from back in 2017 in New York City's World Trade Center transit hub, the Oculus, a little before dawn. A woman and her friends were making their way home following a night of drinking when they reached the escalators. Now, according to reports from The Sun and the Daily Mail, our woman here decided in her inebriated state to lay prone on the escalator's handrail, pretending to be flying like a superhero. The only downfall was a literal downfall, in that being drunk, the woman lost her balance and fell 34 feet to her demise. However, not all the tabloids agreed that that's what happened. I did a bit of digging, and it seems this superhero role playing happened before she fell. Some claim after she got off the handrail, the woman was playing with her friend's hat. What is it with Darwin Award winners and hats? When it went over the side of the escalator, and in a drunken effort to retrieve it, that's when she went over. Okay, not as dumb, but still Darwin Award dumb. Have you seen a story that you think belongs in this series? Then send it to me at stories@bmas.com. Who knows, you might make it into part 19. And speaking of stories you guys sent in, losing your cool. Nihat
What
isn't the
the
only
heck?
viewer who had a story to share. Jadeish Meeks sent me an email with a story from their hometown in Kingston, Jamaica, which truly deserves a place in this video. According to Jadeish, one day a pretty bad storm hit Kingston, which flooded the streets with torrents of raging water. Now, most sane people would seek higher ground and try their best to wait it out, but Jadeish's neighbor had other plans. He and some friends hauled out an old refrigerator, which his neighbor then got in and, using a leaf blower, began to power it along the water like a speedboat. Seems like a pretty odd, not to mention dangerous time to test out a homemade contraption like this when the waters are so unpredictable, but I suppose he just couldn't wait. Jadeish watched as the fridge boat began picking up speed in the murky water, which is when it hit something. All of a sudden, the fridge tipped and the neighbor was trapped underneath it. As no one else was able to reach him because of how turbulent the water was, the neighbor's hastily designed boat quickly flooded and suddenly became his coffin. Well, if you ever needed a reason not to try using a refrigerator as a boat, that kinda covers it.
Yeah, that was um that was a pretty ridiculous way to go about using a boat. Like, what the heck is up with you for like thinking that was gonna work fully? Like, there's no way that's gonna work more times than not. You're more likely just to get yourself killed than anything else. Just saying.
For Pete's sake. Seeing how good Jadeish's story was, I decided to take a look through a few more emails, and a viewer named Baron Pathan sent me something that I think instantly qualifies. According to
Huh?
Barun, who lives in Barher, a small village in Odisha, India, there was once a group of three young men who made, I'm going to say, unwise life choices. On one hot day, the three had had a few drinks and, inebriated, decided it would be a good idea to go and cool off in a local pond, which was really an old peat bog. Once they got there, one of the
Okay.
men made the drunken decision to show off by climbing up a tree and diving into the water. His equally drunk friends were cheering him on as he climbed up higher and higher before he jumped in. However, instead of the graceful splash they were expecting, they heard a wet thud and saw the bottom half of their friend sticking out of the surface of the water. It turns out they'd all been too drunk to see that the water beneath the tree was actually disguising a thick layer of clay, and now the guy was stuck in it, head first. The two other friends drunkenly ran to help, but for all their efforts, he was well and truly stuck. With no one else around, this sauced up show off quickly suffocated. There's a lesson in here somewhere about looking before you leap, but I think the bigger lesson is don't drink and then make terrible life choices, kids.
And that's why you will never catch me with alcohol. I don't like the concept of drinking. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I just don't like the concept of it. It just leads to too many awful choices, to say the least.
Botched booze. So, quite a few of the winners on this list are here because of
Okay.
booze. But ironically, these next two technically aren't. Back in April
Wait, what?
2020, a liquor ban was placed over Manila City as part of the Luzon wide quarantine area. Unable to get their hands on any booze, three men came up with a genius idea. They'd try and make some of their own. Now, typically, alcohol is produced when yeast ferments the sugars in grains, fruits, and vegetables. But these guys either didn't have access to any of that or just didn't know what was in alcohol and so made an improvised concoction of coffee, soft drinks, and vinegar. Nasty.
That's gonna
While I
kill
don't
you
imagine it
immediately.
tasted great, it wasn't dangerous in any way, which is when one of the men bought a can of paint thinner and suggested adding that to the mix. The other two laughed.
Okay, it was gonna kill their colon, I guess. That would be the less consequential thing to happen. Losing your colon and or kidney. Actually, I think it's the kidney. Probably definitely the kidney, actually. The more I think about it. Yeah, most definitely was gonna be the kidney.
To them and said it was crazy because paint thinner, while it can contain ethanol, which is alcohol, also contains incredibly toxic hydrocarbons. So obviously none of the men drank it because they all had a basic, bare minimum level of intelligence and knew this was the worst idea that any of them had ever. Oh no, wait, scratch that. They absolutely added paint thinner to the mix and then drank it. I got my hopes up then. Within a few hours of consuming the critical cocktail, two of the men suffered from major organ failure and passed on. One made it to a hospital just. And with that, I'm only handing out 2 awards today. Now, what the heck, they could have 3. They've really earned them. And before you leave, just a reminder to check out our masterpiece, Natural Selection in Action, the poster. I promise, it's to die for. Which of these did you
I I just okay. People want to be dumb and all that. Okay. People think that they can just do this kind of stuff with no consequences and okay, sure. Sure. Go ahead. Drink all that alcohol and all this other stuff. They honestly deserve the dumbest on the list here. Like honestly, there is no redeeming quality that they deserve for that one. They knew what they were getting into. They decided to go ahead and drink as much alcohol as they can, and bam, look where it got them. Look where it got them. I say it would have been expected, but hey, you know what? They're just some fricked up idiots. That is honestly the, the dumbest way to die. But since we're looking for the most embarrassingly dumb way to die, I would feel more embarrassed by these two because these two decided to flip the thing upside down and blow themselves the living up. That is how dumb they are. That is how dumb they are. There is no redeeming qualities, and they deserve to be embarrassed because of how dumb they were to think that an actual bomb was something to play around with. Hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button down below. Hit the subscribe button to support the channel, support the content provided, and so on and so forth. Hit the notification button to be notified immediately when your video comes out. And tell me what you think was the most embarrassing, dumb way to die. With this said, I hope you all enjoy, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.